Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, Easy, Effective SharePoint Charting, BI, and Data Visualization. My name is Sen, and in this session, I will show you how to easily and effectively visualize data in SharePoint using our SharePoint 2013 app, BlackCompass Visualizer. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for attention of what this app is about and how it can add immediate value to your organization. And we will spend most of today's session to see a live demonstration of this app in a live SharePoint 2013 environment. So after demonstration, I will talk about principles you can apply to make data visualization more effective in the SharePoint environment. I'll talk about SharePoint specific factors, and also I'll talk about general principles you can apply in any data visualization solutions. If you have questions throughout this session, please feel free to type up your question into the webinar software, and towards the end of the session, I'll be able to address your questions as much as I can. Depends on how we go in time. And towards the end of the session, I will run some quick polls. It will only take you about a minute to answer 3 very quick questions that will help us a lot. Okay, so first, a very brief introduction. So BlackCompass Visualizer is a SharePoint 2013 app from the Microsoft-hosted SharePoint App Store. Let me pause here for a second and take you to a live SharePoint 2013 environment. For those of you who are familiar with SharePoint 2013, you know that you can add an app. Now we have an App Store for SharePoint. And the app we're talking about here, BlackCompass Visualizer, is here on the home page. It's a very popular app. A lot of organizations use it, both on on-premise SharePoint 2013 and Office 365. Let me go back to my SharePoint site and go back to my slides. So it's a SharePoint 2013 app. It supports both on-premise and Office 365. And the biggest feature for this app is that it's designed to be easy enough for the end user. So that's our key differentiator, that we feel anybody, you don't have to be an IT professional or developer to use this app. Anybody, any business user, any SharePoint user can use this app. I will demonstrate the ease of use in a minute. So it's very easy to configure, and it has very powerful features in terms of data visualization. Also, all the graphs in this app can update itself from SharePoint. So for example, if the SharePoint data has changed behind the graph, then the graph can gracefully update itself when the data changes. Also, we have included a webpack package where you can easily place graphs and visualizations on SharePoint pages as web parts. Once you make a graph, you can save or publish them. Once it's published, you're able to share this graph with your team. So also, we separately we offer an external data visualization package, where if your data is not in SharePoint, if they are in another data source, CRM, SQL Server, Oracle Server, so together with another vendor, we offer an external data visualization package. By using this package, you can pull data from just about any data source into SharePoint, and then you can visualize them as native SharePoint data. And being a SharePoint 2013 app, there is nothing to install on your SharePoint server. So this is a major advancement in terms of the SharePoint platform. So for those of you who has had experience in administer SharePoint before, you'll know that if you run an older version of SharePoint, SharePoint 2007 or SharePoint 2010, you know that to extend SharePoint in any way, you will have to download some kind of server-side installation package to run the installation as an admin on the server, and then activate a feature typically inside or site collection. So this approach causes problems, especially when you are later try to upgrade your SharePoint farm or reconfigure your SharePoint farm. So Microsoft has largely addressed this issue by offering now the app model. So all the apps now you buy from the SharePoint App Store, the app will never run on your server. They're either hosted or run in the browser. So there's nothing to install on your server side, and your server farm is protected. Okay, so let me go to the demonstration stage. So the demonstration stage, I will break it up into two subparts. One is I will show you an overview of what's possible using this app. I'll show you a list of pre-made visualizations. Then the second part is we can create some graphs together. Let me now take you to a SharePoint 2013 environment. So this is my SharePoint site. It's a hosted on-premise SharePoint 2013 installation, but it will work exactly the same way in Office 365. So once you add an app from the app from the store, it will appear as an available app here now in your site. Let's click on the app and see what's inside of it. So this is inside of the app. Now you can see the URL has changed. So before now, I have saved and pre-published some graphs. So now I can show you what's possible using this app, graphing SharePoint data. So under my graphs, let me show you. Let me sort this by the created date. So we have 16 types of visualizations you can use. We have area graphs. So this is a pre-made area graph. I can zoom. I can scroll. As you can see, there's multiple areas on the graph, so I can display multiple data series. I have a legend down the bottom here. I can isolate data series. I can add and remove data series as the graph renders. Let me load the next type of graph. I will come back to these graphs to show you how you exactly make them. And once a graph renders, you can open the configuration panel. You can pretty much configure all aspects of each graph. So just now was an area graph. You have standard graphs like pie graph. You can click on each slice. It's going to show you that one row of data behind that slice. You can click on this link. It's going to take you to that one row of data in SharePoint. You can drag the labels. Let me close this. You can drag the labels around. Sometimes where in the pie graph, the slice gets so small towards the end of the pie that you have a lot of labels crammed into a small space. Also, we have the colorful legend down the bottom. We can click the graph, refresh itself. Actually, I shouldn't say refresh. The page does not refresh, but the graph can gracefully update itself. Depends on the data you configured to show. So let me go to the next one. We have histograms. So this is showing a list, SharePoint list data. So as you can see, there's multiple data series on the page. Now I can still zoom. I can focus on different region. I can still click on the colorful legend down the bottom to isolate data series. I can do things like, let me take off the zooming. We can do things like sorting. As you can see, everything is rendered live. So let me go to the next graph. We have bubble graphs, which shows proportion of data. This is showing the population proportion in the various states in the US. So we have, let me just close this for a second. So everything is live. So you can click on the colorful legend. You can click on any shapes on the graph. It's going to show you that one row of data behind it. So also we have gauges. If you want to show a changing numeric value over time, you can use gauges. You can configure visual bands, colorful bands on the gauges. You can control the visual range from 0. In this case, it's from 0 to 6,000. 6,000 is the top value here. Let me show you the next graph. We have another type of gauge, ruler gauge. So it shows a live gauge on a horizontal layout. We have spark lines. So if you have some kind of sum or average or median value you want to show from a SharePoint list, the spark line will go up and down as the value changes in SharePoint. Next one, Item Explorer. So we have two data explorers. They're used in the case that you don't know what you're looking for, you want to explore. We'll come back to this one, so I'll give you some more context later so you will know what you're looking at. But for now, so graphs like this, you can do grouping. For example, I can group by the year. As you can see, the order transition on the page is live. I can do things like sorting. If I want to apply a sort here, sort by the total amount as a number, say from large to small. I can just apply configuration, and all the sorts happens in real time. Let me go to the next graph type, and we have also this item universe, which is showing the same data, but we're exploring it a little bit differently. So what I can do is I can place labels. For example, this one I wanted the total amount to be on the label. I can do things like grouping, like before. If I group by the year, I'll come back to this example. So we have 2010, 2009, and 2008. So everything renders live, right? So let me go back to the next graph type. We have scatter plots. So if you have two numeric values that you want to show their correlation with each other, this is a good one. This is showing two data series. I can zoom, I can scroll, I can isolate data series. I can click on each dot. It's going to show me that one row of data. Let me take you to the next one. We have timelines. So if you have time-based data like calendars, any tasks, any time-based data, you can draw the data on the timeline, and I can use my mouse to move. I can use my mouse wheel to scroll. I can drag this one event. This is each dot is one event. I can click on it. It's showing me that one row of that data in SharePoint. I can use my master band down the bottom to zoom. For example, I can see there's a lot of activities down here. So I can because time is a continuum, so I can almost zoom indefinitely. I'm using my mouse wheel now, so I can almost zoom indefinitely. As you can see, the labels on the x-axis is getting more and more precise. So it's now down to the hourly level. It will go down to the minute, the second level even. So okay, let me show you the next graph. We have tree maps. If you want to show the proportion of data, is similar to a bubble graph, but tree maps. So this is again the population distribution in the United States. Also, we have radar graph. This is a very interesting one. So this is showing us an imaginary department donation competition. $10,000 is the row, is the goal, I should say. And so each dot is so the distance to the center is how much money they've raised so far. So 10,000 is the goal here, and the size of the bubble represents how many people working in those departments. So I'll come back to this example. I'll show you how this graph is made. So if you have data that you want to show in relation to a goal, which is the center, this is a very good one to use. I can, of course, click on my legend to add and remove. For example, IT has just now disappeared. Let me put it back. I can add and remove shapes on the graph. Let me take you to the next one. We have live text. So this dynamically reads, the text is live, dynamically reads data from a SharePoint list and updates itself when the data changes. And let me go to the next graph. So of course we have line graph, which is very similar to the area graph. You can still zoom. You can have legends down the bottom. You can isolate data series. You can hover over and showing what the data looks like on that day. Okay, so this is just a very quick and brief overview of the graphs we have. Let me show you how easy it is for the end user to make them. So I'll show you a few examples. I won't have time to show you every single graph in detail today, but I'll show you enough so you'll understand how they work. You can see how easy it is for the end user. So let's start with this one. Let's start with city temperature. So this, as you can see, this is a standard SharePoint 2013 list. We have a very simple data structure here. We have the measurement date, the temperature for New York, San Francisco, and Austin. So as you can see, the measurement are done daily, right? So let's go ahead and visualize this data. Because I have added my app to this site, so now I can see this visualizer icon on my SharePoint list or document libraries. So on the ribbon, you can click on this icon. So let's visualize this. So I want to use a line graph where X is the date, Y are 3 cities. So let's click on, so let me just scroll down here for a little bit so you can see we have all these graphs types you can use. Okay, so let me click on line graph. Okay, so to make it easy for the end user, we will ask very simple questions. For example, which column is X measurement? Which measurement date, I should say. Which column is Y? We can start with New York. You can choose New York, San Francisco, or Austin. That's dynamically read from the SharePoint list. So let's start with New York. Let me give it a title. So city temperature line graph. Okay. You can give it a subtitle, and also here, as you can see here, which view would you like to get data from? So for those of you who are familiar with SharePoint views, you know that in SharePoint list you can create views. You can have a view to show a pre-filtered condition. So also you can create a view to only pull, for example, top, I don't know, 500 rows of data. So it's very flexible. So in here you have the option to pull data from a particular view. So I'm going to leave the auto refresh to the default, which is 10 seconds, and I'm going to visualize this data here. So that's my line graph, as easy as that. So anybody can do this. You don't need to be a developer or IT professional to do this. So I have my master band here. I can zoom. I can scroll. Now I want to add more data series on the map on this graph. So I have one data series already, which is New York. Let me add another one. And let me add San Francisco. I can choose a different color. Let me choose a reddish color. So you can input your own custom color code here, but it's nice to choose from a pre-made panel of colors. Let me add one more, which is Austin. Change the color to a green color, for example. So now I'm going to apply my new configuration. So it's easy as that. I can hover over, and it's going to show me the measurement for that date. I can still zoom. I can add or remove data series, as I showed before. So let me open up the configuration again. So just now I said you can pretty much change all aspects of the graph after it renders, while it's rendering. So for example, if I want to change the visual range on the y-axis, as you can see Y here, let me close this for a second. It starts from around 20 and ends around, say, 90. And that's dynamically read from the data set. So I can override this as a user. If I want the y-axis to start from 0 rather than 19.2, and maximum to be 100 rather than 89.6, I can apply the configuration. As you can see, I'm not sure how well you can see that through the webdown software, but as you can see, the lines has reshaped itself to fit this new range, 100 to 0 instead of 90 to 20. So you can change look and feel. You can give the graph a description. You can, for example, if you want to show the data dot and the data labels, you can do that as well. So also once you make a graph, you can save this or publish this. So once you save or publish it, becomes available on the My Graphs, which is created by me, or on the published graphs, which is available to be viewed by your teams. Okay, so let me go back to my SharePoint site to show you another graph of how easy it is for you to create it. Okay, so let's create another graph, which is let's use this list. So this is Bill Gates' donations, and it's a good list to use because it has various data types. Let me explain. So this Bill Gates donations. So we have grant title. Each donation is a grant. The organization is going to, how much, and the grant date, when they're made. And down here I have a grant year. So this is a calculated column. So for those of you who are familiar with SharePoint configuration, you know that in SharePoint you can create a calculated column. What that means is, because I have a grant date here, I want to show you whatever the year of the grant date is. So this grant year column is there's no real data in it. It's basically our dynamic formula. If this, for example, if the grant date here changes to 2009, it will dynamically calculate to be 2009. So the graphs, the visualizer can pull data from calculated column as well, which I will show. So let's go ahead and visualize this. So there's many ways I can visualize this. I can focus on the date or the proportions. So let me show you how to visualize the same data set using different graphs. So in here is it's reminding you you're about to graph data from this list. You can click on this shortcut and it's loading the list again, so you can have a look at the schema. So let me use one of my two data explorers. I have two data explorers. I have the item explorer and an item universe. So let's say right now I want to focus more on the proportion of the donations. So I'm going to choose the item universe. Again, very, very simple questions for the end user. So very simple configuration initially. So which column provides the size of each balloon? Okay, so I'm going to go total amount. So notice something here. because the size of the balloon can only represent numeric data, so the visualizer has now filtered out all the columns that has which is not a number column. So total amount. And the color code, I want color code by different organizations. So each different organization will receive a different color. And as you can see here, which view would you like to get data from? I have four views. I can choose to pull data from different views. For this case, in this case, I want to show all the data, so all items. So that's my graph. So very intuitive. So so each bubble represents one donation, and the size of the bubble is the donation amount. So immediately I want to place the total amount on the bubble. So let me go to look and feel. Under this question, which column provides the text label for each balloon? So I'm going to use total amount. Apply my configuration. As you can see, the total amount has now been placed on each balloon. So I'm going to drag each balloon around just to show you that the graph is live. As I drag it around, I know this will be some lag in your screen presentation, but you can see the point that when I drag it around, everything just reshapes and repositions itself. So the graph is live. Because just now I chose to color code, so now I have legend here. I can use to add and subtract bubbles on this graph. Okay, so because this is a data explorer, I want to explore a little bit more. I want to apply some grouping. So I know there's 3 years worth of data in this, 2008, 2009, 2010, and I want to group by the year. Okay, remember here, the grant year is a calculated column. Okay, it's not a real column, but I can still pull data from it. I'm going to go and apply the configuration. As you can see, each balloon has moved to its right place. So we have 2009 here, 2008, 2009, and 2010. Okay, so now let me show you a very important feature of this application. So let me change the auto refresh to every 10 seconds, right? From every 10 seconds to every 2 seconds. So we don't have to wait for very long. And I want to change the data behind the scene, right? So I'm going to click on this bubble and click on this link to the SharePoint item. So this is a very large donation. Let me go back here. So just now I've shown you that one row of data in SharePoint behind this shape, okay? So I'm going to edit the item. Let's pretend for a moment it's no longer made in 2009, it's made in 2008. Let me click Save and quickly go back to my graph here. And as you can see, the bubble has now moved by itself because the underlying data has changed. And I did not refresh the page, okay? So every 2 seconds is trying to refresh the data from the list, and if the data has changed, reshape that one row, that one shape to move to its rightful place. Okay, so let me do this again. So let me click on the same shape and click on the link. So this one, I want to move it back to where it was and also change the size of it, right? So let me change this back from 2008 to 2009. The donation was made in 2009. I want to change it from 100 million to say 20 million. Okay. Let me quickly save this and go back to my list, to my graph. Okay. So now, see this bubble has moved back to 2009, and also the size of it has changed because the donation amount has changed. Okay. So all the graphs in this app has this ability to gracefully update itself if the data has changed. So I have a customer that they put this on a big screen, and they have live data that's fed into a SharePoint custom list, and they put this on a big screen in the control room, and they use it as a live dashboard, if you like. Okay, so let me switch the graph type and show you the next type of graph. So again, I'm still trying to visualize the graph from this list, Bill Gates' donations, but this time I want to explore the data a little bit differently. I don't care about the donation amount anymore, but I want to sort of filter, sort, and group the data. So I'm going to choose the Item Explorer here. Again, very simple configuration. The text, so which column provides the text label, the grant title, color code by organization as before. Okay. So this is a different type of explorer. So this is not so much on the proportion of a value, but this is rather the categorization of data. So each rectangle on the page is one row. Okay. So immediately I can see some of the text are being cut off. I want to change the size of it. So on the look and feel, I'm going to change the width of the item from 160 to say 220 pixels. And let me apply my configuration here. Everything is resized in real time. Okay. So let me now apply some sorting. I want to add a sort. I want to sort the total amount, total donation amount as number from say large to small. Let me apply my configuration here. As you can see, sorting. You will see some lag in your webinar software, but if you're actually looking at the browser, the sorting is much more smoother than what you may be seeing now. Okay, let me apply some grouping. So I want to group by the grant here, like you have seen before, but this time the presentation is going to be very different. So as you can see, grant year equals to 2008 here, and 2009, and 2010. As you can see, very few donations are made in 2010 for some reason. So let me switch to graph type. I'm still visualizing the same list, but this time I want to focus on when the donations are made, right? So I'm going to use my timeline here. So which column represents the start date of each event, which is the grant date? There is no end date. And the text label, I want to place the grant title as the text label and the color code by organization. Okay, so this is going to draw the data on a timeline. So as you can see here, you have seen this before, but now you know exactly what it means. So each dot is one donation, and is being displayed on a time continuum. I'm using my mouse wheel now to zoom, to scroll. I can use my master band down the bottom. For example, I can see there's a lot of activities around this time. So I'm focusing on this just one region of time. Let me zoom a little bit more. Let me just use my mouse wheel to zoom a bit more. Sometimes we have so much data, the data gets overlapped, but you can drag the data up and down. You can't obviously move it left or right because that would change the meaning of the data, but you can drag it up and down, and you can click on it. It's showing you order information for that one row. Okay, and as you can see, it's color coded by the organization. I can zoom some more. As I zoom more, the precision of the time scale gets smaller and smaller, and because time is a continuum. So this is really cool. So let me go back to my graph chooser. So again, I'm still graphing the same list from Bill Gates' donations list. Now I want to add a live text to it. Okay, so let me show you what this means. Okay, so I'm not going to bother with a title. So let's say I want to show. Okay, so there are. Okay, so how many items there are total of? Let me click on live text. I want to show the row count, right? So how many items in the list? 254 donations. Okay. So let me add live text, another one. So the total amount is the sum. So as you can see, there are different mathematical operators here. It's the sum of the total amount column. You get the idea. So I can add another one to show the average or the median or whatever you want. So I'm done. So you get the idea. Okay, so there's one more graph I want to show. Actually, two more. Two more. Let me show two more. I'm very conscious of the time here. Also, you can place graphs on SharePoint data on Google Maps. For example, if you have geolocation type of data. Let me show you this list. These are Victoria microbreweries. This shows microbreweries here in Victoria, in Australia. So again, very simple data structure. We have the name of the facility, and we have the full address. So either use a full address or a geolocation, the longitude and latitude. You do not have to have both, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just cramming all the data into one list. And we'll also have a capacity column, so this is how many liters of beer this facility can produce. So let me go ahead and visualize this data using Google Maps. Okay, so Google Maps here. So as you can see, we have full address. Also, we have geolocation. So I can locate by address or longitude and latitude. In this case, I'm going to choose longitude and latitude. So which column provides the longitude, which is long? The latitude is lat here. Which column provides label on the marker? The label is the name of, I want to be the name of the facility. And the size of the marker, I want the size of the marker to represent capacity. So the more it can produce, the bigger the bubble, and color code by the name. So each facility will receive a different color. So this is my Google Maps. I can zoom and scroll, of course. And also, so as you can see here, so each one is a location, and the size of the bubble represents the capacity of this facility. I can click on it to show the details of that facility. I can zoom. So that's so you can place SharePoint data on Google Maps. Okay, so let me go back. So the last graph I want to show is the radar graph. Okay, so let me show you a good data for this. So department donations. Okay, so imagine if you're running imaginary donation competition in your organization. All right, so let's see who raised $10,000 first. So we have the department, the donation they raised so far, and how many people work in the department. So it's like a competition, right? It's like a race to a goal. Let's go ahead and visualize this. So I'm going to use radar graph. Okay, again, very simple configuration. So the visual range, if I can leave this visual range as default, so then the visualizer can determine the range dynamically. But this time I have a very specific goal in mind. So from 0 to 10,000, which is the goal. And I want to invert access. So the larger the value, the closer it is to the center rather than more further away. I can render the data row by row or apply grouping. And a grouping is a feature that a lot of graphs have. Actually, after this, I'll show you a very quick grouping example. So which column represents the distance to the center, which is the donation amount, right? Remember, the larger the donation amount, the more closer it is to the goal. Which column represents the size of each dot? Of course, how many people work in the department. The labels for each dot is the department, and the color code by department. Okay, here's my radar graph. What does this mean? This means $10,000 is the goal. Let's see who gets there first. So if you have data you want to show in relation to a goal, this is a very good visualization to use. All right, I'm almost out of time, but let me show you data grouping on a lot of graphs. All right? So let me go back to the very original example, which is the line graph, the city temperature, where is here. Okay, so the measurement is done every day. Okay, so let me go ahead and visualize this data. I'm going to choose the line graph as before, but this time I want to apply some grouping. I want to group the measurement date down to the weekly level, and I want to show you the average. So this is, instead of showing the measurement every day, it's showing me the average value per week. Let me go ahead and visualize this. So as you can see, the shape of the line looks a little bit different to before, because now it's showing the average weekly level reading instead of every day. I can still add multiple data series. For example, I can compare the average of New York with the average of San Francisco. Let me choose a different color here. Apply. So as you can see, another line has been added to the graph. Okay, so because now you can apply grouping, you can have very flexible graphs. For example, I can compare the average of New York with the median of San Francisco. Let me reapply my new configuration. As you can see, the data is now looking a little bit different to before, because now I'm comparing the average to median instead of average to average. Okay, all right. So this is, because I have to watch the time, this is the demonstration part of this session. So just now to showed you an overview of the 16 type of visualizations we have. And we also created some live graphs together. Hopefully you can see it's not like a traditional BI tool that requires a developer or an IT professional to use it. Anybody can use this. Okay, so let me go back. Demonstration. Okay, right. So now I want to talk about the principles you can apply to make data visualization more effective in the SharePoint context. So first thing you need to do is clean up your data, right? So your graph is only as good as the data you feed to it, right? So just now I showed you. Let me go back to my list. Let me go back to my Bill Gates' donation list here. Actually, I have it here. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, so the grant title, organization, they're text columns because they're standard text data in it. And total amount is numeric value. So this is a number column, this is a day column, this is a calculated column. This is very important to mark your data with the right data type. So yeah, ensure the column field types are correct. Avoid using rich text columns for data visualization. Actually, when you start to use rich text column, SharePoint database stores the HTML markup, which shows up very poorly on graphs. Make use of standard SharePoint feature like list views or calculated columns to make the graphs more flexible. And also you can graph data from multiple lists by using lookup columns, right? So I don't have an example here, but if you can mash data from from multiple lists into one by using lookup columns, and you can then visualize that. So you can mash data from various lists, multiple list data into one list, and then visualize data from multiple lists. So also visualize report data rather than raw data. So I mean, it will work, but it's not ideal. Sometimes you have thousands and thousands of lines of raw transactional data. Then our recommendation to that is maybe use like a professional data analytics tool like SQL Analysis Services, for example, to turn the raw data into report data and report data, visualize report data, I should say. If you want to visualize raw data, it may work, but it's not an ideal situation. Okay, so next one is the general principles you can apply. Just now I talked about SharePoint specific factors. Now I want to talk about general principles you can apply. So all good visualizations tell a story. Give the user some context. Let them know what they're looking at. And also choose the most appropriate graph types. Just now you have seen that I have visualized the Bill Gates' donation list using many different types of graphs. Each graph has a specific purpose. For example, the timeline is focused on the time when the donations are made, right? The explorers are focused on the exploration of data. The bubbles are focused on the proportion of the donation. So have a focus in mind, then choose the right graph type to show that. Always provide context to your users. Let them know what they're looking at. Otherwise, they're just looking at a beautiful visualization, but they wouldn't know what they're looking at. So always provide a title, always provide a subtitle. Make sure the color actually makes sense and the shape makes sense. Next point is separate the analysis of data with the presentation of data. And so this is where we differ with a lot of traditional BI tools that if you think about a traditional desktop BI tool, for example, you're trying to do two things at the same time. You're trying to apply analytics to data and present it at the same time. So that's not really an ideal situation. What you want is using analytic tools like SQL Analysis Services I mentioned to turn transactional data into report data, then present that to your users. So separate the analytics of data and to the presentation of the data. And the last point is try to provide some conclusions and next actionable step to the user. So this is not always possible, but a good graph will give people something to think about or something to do, something to find out. So that would be very important. Leave them something to be doing rather than just looking at it. Okay, so now if you don't mind, I'll launch a couple of polls, 3 very quick questions that will help us to understand your need. So if you don't mind, take time to just answer some very simple questions. So in the meantime, I'll give a very quick summary. So this BlackCompass Visualizer is is an easy to use SharePoint app available from the SharePoint App Store. It supports on-premise SharePoint 2013 and Office 365. It can immediately add values to all of your SharePoint users. No training is required, as you can see how easy it is to be used by the end user. It is 100% based on SharePoint. It's 100% in the browser. So you don't need to download any tools or anything like that, no desktop tools. All the graphs can gracefully update itself if the data has changed in SharePoint. Also, we include a web part pack. Actually, let me show you this. So let me go to my my visualizer and load a pre-saved graphs. So let me show, for example, what's a good one to show. So this dial gauge here is great. Okay, so now I want to place this on a web part page as a web part. So let me put this page into editing mode and add a web part. As you can see here, I have BlackCompass Visualizer as an available web part here. Okay, so it's asking you to copy and paste the URL to your pre-saved web part. So I can copy the URL from the browser here, or I can just get the URL by clicking this button. So you can copy and paste graphs from another site collection if you like. It does not have to live in this site, okay? You can even paste the URL from another SharePoint farm. As you can see, this is my graph as a web part. It can only show, of course, can only show saved or published web parts. So, so once you publish this, it becomes a standard web part. And by using web parts, you can build very dynamic dashboards right in SharePoint. Okay. Also, this app is intelligent enough to leverage standard SharePoint features like views, calculated columns, lookup columns. If you're a SharePoint professional, you will understand what these are. If you're a SharePoint power user, you probably won't understand what these are. And they're not hard to explain to the end users. You can save and publish and share. And also, if you are interested, if your data is not in SharePoint, you want to get them into SharePoint, ask us about the external data visualization package we offer. We can pull just about any data into SharePoint and visualize it. Okay, all right. So I will stay online for a little bit longer to answer your questions. I can see I have some questions here. If you can, visit our website, www.blackcompass.net. On this website, you can find general information, license information, documentation, and also we have set up a live demonstration site, Office 365 site we set up. On our website, will give you a login. You can log in. It looks like this. So this is our demonstration site. You can log in and have a play with the visualizer yourself. You can load pre-saved graphs. It's a little bit slow on the Office 365. It's all accessible from www.blackcompass.net. So you can load up existing graphs. And let me go back. Okay, so so log in and have a play. Okay, so let me try to address some of the questions. Wow, there's a lot of questions. Okay, so does it work with? Okay, so I have a question here. Does it work with a provider-hosted app? So the architecture of this app is a SharePoint-hosted app. So it supports both on-premise and Office 365 environments. So it's not a provider-hosted app. Okay, so let me go to the next one. Can this be used outside of SharePoint? No, unfortunately, no. So this is a SharePoint app. It requires SharePoint 2013 or Office 365 to be able to use it. Yeah, so having SharePoint is a prerequisite. Okay, so also the next question, are there KPIs that support the graph? So so if you want to, so the graph pulls data from SharePoint list or document libraries, right? So I'm not sure what you mean by KPI here exactly, but if the data is in the SharePoint list or document library, then you can visualize it. The next question, can you use the tool to visualize the data in Excel via Excel services or external data? Okay, so this is a good question. So the question is, can you use the tool to visualize data in Excel services or data exposed using business connectivity services? The answer is, if you can publish the data into a SharePoint list, then you can visualize it. For BCS, unfortunately, there is a limitation on how the app can talk to SharePoint. So as of now, the app model does not support talking to your BCS external list, but there's nothing to say that this feature won't be added by Microsoft later. Okay, so let me go to the next question. Can you group the information on a tree map to show one or more levels of nested data? Oh, that's a very good question. So right now you can. Okay, let me show up very quickly on the tree map. So this is the Bill Gates' donation. So let me load up the tree map. I'm not going to put any configuration on it. Okay, it's like this. So let me actually add a bit of color so it's easier for you to look at it. So you can dynamically choose. For example, I don't want to choose the total amount. I want to choose another. Want to use the rectangle to represent another column. I can do that, but there's no nesting. I can't further divide this rectangle into sub-rectangles. But if that's the feature you're looking for, get in touch with us afterwards. We do take user requests very seriously in terms of future features. Okay, so let me go to the next question. Okay. Okay, so just hold on for a second. Okay, all right. Okay, so the polls that's not showing. Okay, thank you for pointing that out. So let me go to the next question. Okay, I have a user here says that they had trouble adding this app in their Office 365 site. So get in touch with us afterwards. You should be able to add your Office to your Office 365 site without any problems. But it kind of depends. Sometimes it depends on the type of subscriptions you have. So get in touch with us afterwards. We will be able to help you out. Okay, next question. Do I have to have a license for all SharePoint users? I probably will only have a few people. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so yeah, let me talk about, if you go to our website here, let me load up that website. There's a licensing FAQ. So the short answer is you can, with the licensing here, right? So you can buy seats-based license. You can buy one or many. So if you have one user in the organization of 10,000 to use this app, you only have to buy one license. Okay, so it's completely seat-based, right? So you don't have to buy many if most users are not going to use it. Okay, okay. This person said wrong alarm. I managed to add an app. Okay, so that's okay. So this person added the app to their Office 365 site. After all, that's no problem. Okay. So that's the end of all the questions in this session. There are a couple of very common questions people have been asking, and I will address them. So one is does it work with all the SharePoint versions? Answer is no. I'm sorry to say, because it's an app. The new app model only supports SharePoint 2013 and Office 365. So it doesn't work with SharePoint 2010 or 2007 because the app model, the infrastructure just simply isn't there. So next question people commonly ask is, what's the browser support? Compatibility level? So this supports all major browsers, and in terms of Internet Explorer, it supports Internet Explorer 9 or later. It does not work on IE 8 or earlier, but if you have got IE 9 or Internet Explorer 10 or Chrome, and Safari, so all the major browsers, and IE 9 or later. Okay, is there any known limitations? Just now I addressed one limitation, which is it does not work out of the box with BCS, Business Connectivity Services. So this is due to a limitation in the app model as of now. So we offer external data visualization package to pull data from various sources. Actually, let me bring up this page so you can have a look at what kind of data source we can pull data from. So external data visualization package. So this is together with another vendor we offer. So we can pull data from, I'm not sure how well you can see this, pull data from just about any enterprise data sources into SharePoint. Then we can visualize the data as native SharePoint data. Okay, but out of the box it doesn't work with BCS. Okay, so next limitation, not so much of a limitation, but if you use forms-based authentication on-premise SharePoint 2013, you need to apply additional configuration steps to make it work, because mostly to do with how the app authenticates with SharePoint. And so if you're using forms-based authentication, you may need to apply additional configuration to make the app authenticate with SharePoint. Okay. Okay. I can see. Let me see whether we have more questions. I'll stay online until all the questions are addressed. I think. I'm just going through the questions right now. Okay. So this user can add it now. So licensing. Okay. Also, I want to just briefly talk about licensing. So we are, in terms of this app, we give away 5 graphs absolutely free. Okay. Let me show you what those 5 graphs are. Let me switch the graph type here. So when the process goes like this. When you add this app to your SharePoint site, you have a free trial for 30 days. Once the trial expires, you can still use 5 standard graphs. These are the 5: area graphs, line graphs, pie graph, histogram, and bubble graphs. You can still use them free for everybody for forever. And after the trial period, if you want to still use enterprise features like the Webpack package or these other enterprise graphs, you can buy license per seat. Right, so you can buy, if you have one user, just now said, one user in the whole organization want to use this, you can only have to buy 1 seat. And have a look at our documentation site, have a look at the licensing FAQ page, it will explain to you exactly how the licensing works. Okay, so let me see whether I have more questions. Okay, that's all the questions. Okay, so so thank you everybody. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I'm going to log off now and get in touch with us. So everything you can contact us. Everything can be accessed from our website www.blackcompass.net. So get in touch, and I'll be happy to talk to you. Also, we can do personal demos. So if you have an organization you want to book a personal demo, you can request a demo. We can do a private demo to your organization as well. So, okay, thank you everybody. Thank you for attending.